Hi all! In this video we'll talk about the legendary chest changes that will arrive with Chapter 2 of Age of War in Conan Exiles. You've likely heard it already. Come Chapter 2, you won't be able to find legendary chests in the open world anymore. If you visit any of the locations where you usually found legendary chests, you'll find nothing anymore. Well, currently there are still some exceptions that remain in the world, but we expect them to be removed once the chapter goes officially live. This changes the process of obtaining legendary weapons completely. Whether you hate or love the upcoming massive change, let's take a closer look at what it really means. Do keep in mind that our findings are based on the public beta build and that Funcom might yet make changes. Instead of finding them in the world, legendary chests have now been added to the final boss room of dungeons. The number varies from dungeon to dungeon, and the loot you'll find in these chests is still randomized like before. You can get any of the legendaries in any of the chests, the same as it was before in the open world. So wait, what? No more legendary chests in the world? What does that mean in terms of skeleton keys and world bosses? Well, you still need skeleton keys to open the legendary chests in dungeons. And as before, world bosses are the ones that drop them. You simply won't find chests in their vicinity anymore. Instead, you can stack up on keys before heading into a dungeon. Speaking of stacking up, skeleton keys currently don't stack and clutter your inventory. This has been brought up with the devs, and we really hope they allow us to stack keys with one of the next updates. What about bosses in dungeons? Do they drop keys? As a rule of thumb, the final dungeon boss doesn't drop a skeleton key, but it wouldn't be Funcom if there wouldn't be some exceptions. For example, in the current beta build, the Degenerate in the Well of Scalos and the Scorpion Queen in the Silver Mines are dropping keys. In dungeons that feature other Tree Skull bosses, like the Warmaker's Sanctuary, you can still get additional skeleton keys from those Tree Skull bosses within the dungeons. Some dungeons have also seen a slight overhaul and the addition of new bosses which also drop keys. In regards to the so-called dungeon overhaul that's supposed to add additional bosses, traps, small puzzles and loot, we feel that at this stage the overhaul is still fairly inconsistent and feels more like a work in progress. Some dungeons have seen only a few changes, or none, like for example the Palace of the Witch Queen, at least at first glance. Keep in mind that some dungeons also feature a few additional legendary chests beyond those in the final boss room, though we have also seen some that have been removed in the public beta build. So instead of wasting time and summarizing potential additional chests that might still see changes, get removed or added during the beta, let's focus on the legendary chests that have been added to the final boss room and how many there are per dungeon. We'll follow up with a more comprehensive overview once the chapter is officially live. On a side note, we couldn't find any legendary chests in the Palace of the Witch Queen, the Barrow King, as well as Kurak's dungeon. Now let's move on to those where you can find legendary chests in the last boss room. The Dregs. You'll find 3 legendary chests in the last room. They are accessible once you defeated the boss and the acid has been drained. The Silver Mine, also known as Scorpion Den. There are 4 legendary chests in the end where you find the Scorpion Queen. The Temple of Frost. There's not really a final boss room, but in total you can find 2 legendary chests here, spread across 2 different rooms with a 3 skull boss each. The Midnight Grove. Here you'll find 3 legendary chests in the last boss area with the werewolf. The Black Keep. There are 4 legendary chests in total in the boss room, 2 next to each Lemurian dragon statue. The Well of Scalos. Only 2 legendary chests in the Degenerate's throne room, flanked by other non-legendary loot chests. The Sunken City. There are 6 legendary chests that can be found just in front of the Ritual Keeper on the left and right side. The Wine Cellar. There are 4 legendary chests in the final boss room. You can access them once the boss is dead and the gates have opened. The Warmaker's Sanctuary. There are 6 legendary chests in the Champions Arena, 3 on each side of the exit. And that's the current status on legendary chests for Chapter 2. Whether you like it or not, from now on you will have to grind dungeons for these chests. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and as always, if you like what we do, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe and hit that